Have you ever met someone who always needs to be the center of attention? Someone who never seems wrong? Someone who expects admiration but gives very little empathy in return? Or maybe you've wondered if some of those traits exist inside you too. If so, you're not alone, because narcissism is one of the most misunderstood topics in psychology. Most people think a narcissist is simply someone who loves themselves too much. But according to psychologist Dr. W. Keith Campbell, the reality is much more complicated than that. And once you understand it, you'll start seeing narcissistic behavior everywhere. In social media, in relationships, at work, and sometimes even in the mirror. Today, we're going to explore the psychology of narcissism in a simple way. Not to judge people, but to understand why some people constantly seek attention, validation, and control, and what that behavior is really hiding underneath. Let's begin. Imagine a balloon. From the outside, it looks big, strong, and impressive, but inside, it's mostly air. That's one of the simplest ways to understand narcissism. Dr. W. Keith Campbell describes narcissism as a personality style marked by grandiosity, entitlement, and a strong desire for admiration. In simple words, a narcissistic person often wants to feel special, important, and superior. They want others to notice them, praise them, respect them, and sometimes even worship them. But here's where it gets interesting. Many narcissistic people are not as confident as they appear. Their confidence often depends on what other people think about them. That's why criticism can feel devastating. Even a small rejection can feel like a personal attack. The first thing to understand is the need for admiration. Think about someone who constantly posts achievements online. Every success, every purchase, every compliment, every moment becomes a performance. Now, there's nothing wrong with sharing good moments. We all enjoy recognition. But for a narcissistic person, admiration can become emotional fuel. Without it, they may feel empty, invisible, or unimportant. And the more attention they receive, the more they start needing it. It's like drinking salt water when you're thirsty. It never truly satisfies you. The second trait is entitlement. This is the belief that special rules should apply to them. Maybe they expect constant praise. Maybe they get angry when they don't receive special treatment. Maybe they believe their needs matter more than everyone else's. Have you ever met someone who becomes upset when they're not chosen first, not thanked enough, or not given enough attention? That feeling of "I deserve more" often sits at the heart of narcissism. The third trait is a lack of empathy. Now, this doesn't mean narcissistic people never understand emotions. Many actually understand emotions very well. The problem is that they often focus more on their own needs than the feelings of others. Imagine telling someone you're having a difficult day. Instead of listening, they immediately start talking about themselves. Suddenly, your story disappears, and the spotlight returns to them. Over time, relationships become exhausting, not because the narcissistic person is always cruel, but because genuine emotional connection becomes difficult. The fourth trait is fragile self-esteem. This surprises many people, because narcissists often appear extremely confident. But research suggests that beneath the surface, their self-worth can be unstable. It's like building a house on sand. Everything looks solid until a storm arrives. One criticism, one failure, one rejection, and suddenly the confidence begins to crack. This is why some narcissistic people react so strongly when challenged. They're not just protecting their reputation, they're protecting a fragile image of themselves. The fifth trait is comparison. Narcissistic people often measure their value against others. Who has more success, more followers, more money, more attention? Life becomes a competition instead of a journey. And here's the problem. There will always be someone richer, smarter, more attractive, or more successful. When your happiness depends on being better than everyone else, peace becomes almost impossible. Now here's something important. Not everyone who shows narcissistic traits has narcissistic personality disorder. Those are two very different things. Most people display some narcissistic behaviors occasionally. Wanting attention, seeking recognition, feeling proud of achievements. That's normal. Psychology exists on a spectrum. The real concern happens when these traits become extreme and start damaging relationships and daily life. In today's world, narcissism has become an even bigger conversation because of social media. Platforms reward visibility, likes, views, followers, attention. Many researchers, including Dr. Campbell, have discussed how modern culture can encourage narcissistic tendencies. When attention becomes a form of social currency, it's easy to start chasing approval instead of authenticity. But here's the hidden truth. The opposite of narcissism is not low self-esteem. The opposite is secure self-esteem. A person with secure self-esteem doesn't need to prove their worth every minute. They don't need constant applause. They don't need to win every argument. They know who they are, and because of that, they can genuinely celebrate other people's success too. That's real confidence. Not the loud confidence that demands attention, but the quiet confidence that remains steady even when nobody is watching. So what can we learn from all of this? First, pay attention to how much of your self-worth depends on other people's opinions. Second, practice listening more than speaking. Sometimes the strongest person in the room is the one who truly listens. Third, learn to accept criticism without seeing it as an attack. Growth often begins where comfort ends. Fourth, celebrate others without comparing yourself to them. Someone else's success does not reduce your value. And finally, build a life based on who you are, not on how you're perceived. Because chasing admiration can never replace genuine self-respect. And that's the biggest lesson Dr. W. Keith Campbell teaches through his work. Narcissism isn't just about loving yourself too much. It's often about needing others to constantly confirm your worth. And the moment your worth depends entirely on external validation, you give away your power. Real strength comes from knowing your value even when nobody is clapping, even when nobody is watching, even when nobody is praising you. Because the healthiest confidence doesn't need an audience. It simply exists. If this video made you reflect on someone in your life, or maybe even yourself, let me know in the comments. Have you ever met someone who showed these traits? Or have you noticed any of them in yourself? If you enjoyed this psychology deep dive, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more content about human behavior, relationships, and the hidden patterns that shape our lives. And remember, the goal isn't to judge people. The goal is to understand them, because understanding people is often the first step toward understanding ourselves.